I welcome you all to the second lecture demonstration of the day, which is on use of Nadai-s in Tala cycles, points and counterpoints. Presenting it is Dr. K. Ashok, a disciple and son of Vidvan Shri K.S. Kalidas, who is the Sangeeta Kala Acharya awardee for this year, a direct disciple of Mahavidvan late Payani Subramanya Pillai. Dr. K. Ashok is an A-grade artist in All India Radio and has performed widely with leading artists such as Sangeeta Kalanidhi, Palghat Shri K.V. Narayan Swami, Sangeeta Kalanidhi Shri T. Vishwanathan, and Shri Tanjavur S. Kalyan Raman and many others. An alumnus of IIT Madras and MIT Boston, he is a senior executive in a multinational company. Presenting it will be Dr. K. Ashok and his team. I request you to kindly introduce them for the benefit of the audience, and you have 45 minutes from now.
Thank you for the opportunity and the introduction, Sri Sriram. Before I begin, I wish to acknowledge the presence of my Guru, Vidvan Shri K.S. Kalidas, Sangeeta Kalanidhi Lalgudi Srimati Vijayalakshmi, number of Vidvans and Vidushis and scholars gathered here. I will be assisted in today's program by several people, three disciples of my father, Shri K.S. Kalidas. L. Subramaniam, we affectionately call him Nannu. Akshay Anand, we affectionately call him Chintu. And Rohit Ashok, we affectionately call him Rohit. Okay. We also have Srimati Aishwarya Shankar, a very accomplished vocalist and a disciple of Vidushi Srimati Suguna Vardachari, who has kindly agreed to demonstrate some of the ideas we are going to talk through short Pallavi. Okay, so these are broadly the things I'm going to cover today. I will first go through some basic notation and basic concepts. There's nothing new actually in this section, but I want to introduce certain ways of visualizing some fundamental Nadai-s. And this visual intuition will be useful later on when we talk about more complicated ideas. Okay. And then I'm going to talk essentially about how we can take talams like, say, Tisra Ekam or Misra Chapa or Kanda Chapa and convert them into Adi Talam or Chatusra Ekam. Okay, so if we are able to do that, then anything that we do in Adi Talam, we can do in all these other talams. Okay? And that opens up a lot of creative possibilities. So I'll start with something relatively straightforward, Tisra Chatusram, which is very common today. A lot of artists render it. And then I will move on to Misra Chatusram, which is far less common. And I will also play a short clip of Mahavidvan Payani Subramanya Pillai, where he has played Kanda Chatusram, okay, which is very rare. And Aishwarya will demonstrate through a small Pallavi how some of these ideas are actually performed today on stage by several musicians. Okay. And finally, in the last section, I will demonstrate another unique feature in the Payani Bani. He often used to play Nadai-s like Kandam or Tisram in patterns of 4, rather than say a pattern of 5 in Kandam or a pattern of 3 in Tisram, which is the norm. So we'll start with Kanda Nadai and use that as a platform to showcase some extensions, essentially exploring the art of the possible. I mean, there are a lot of possibilities here. And then we'll conclude with a few characteristic core ways of Payani in Tisra Nadai that he popularized and in fact pioneered, which again illustrate the idea of playing Tisram as patterns of 4 rather than patterns of 3. Okay. Right. So here's a basic visualization I will use at different points today. So imagine that this top row denotes beats of a Tala. So in this case, I'm just going to use Chatusra Ekatala. So each cycle will have 4 beats. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it'll repeat 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And of course, Adi Talam will be 2 cycles of this. everything we're going to talk about today is different ways of dividing these beats into subdivisions, right? So everything we're going to talk about today is essentially that. We'll start with some really simple examples on this page just to get used to the notation. So, for example, in Chatusram, Keel Kalam or low tempo, we will split each beat into two parts. Taka dimi, taka dimi, taka dimi, taka dimi, right? And you can see that essentially 1, 2, 1, 2 will be repeated. Each beat is divided into two parts, right? And then in Tisram, of course, we will divide into three parts. Takita, 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 right? So 1, 2, 3 repeats. Similarly, Chatusram, the next column, you will have takadimi, 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 takadimi. That's all fours. And we can go on. Kandam will be fives. The next column of Tisram will be sixes, and so on. So Tisram would be takita, 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 takita. And then Misram would be takita, takadimi, sevens, right? And of course, then you have 8 Chatusram, the next column, you have Sankirnam, and so on. So that's all very basic. Here's a slightly more involved example. So now I'm taking Tisra Ekatalam, which is cycles of 3. So you can see here it repeats every 3 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'll loosely sometimes put it like this also. You can see it repeats every 3 beats. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to subdivide each cycle of 3 beats into 4 parts. Okay. So if you look here, you'll have a pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4 repeating over and over again. Okay. So if you see what we have done, in plain Chatusram, right, if I put Tisra Ekam, this would be ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta. What we have done is replace that takita with takadimi. So takadimi, 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 right? And we can do this in the next column. There we will replace a 6 with an 8. So you'll have 8 subdivisions within each set of 3 beats, right? So takita, 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 that is Chatusram. And then takadimi, 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 right? So to make this a little more tangible and less abstract, I'm going to ask Rohit and Nanu to just play for 2 minutes in this Nadai. So let me actually just metronome here. So everything they played today actually are things we play in Adi Tala, right? And those of you who have listened to Mridangam would have recognized those patterns. Everything was in patterns of 4. Okay, that's why we call it Tisra Chatusram. So Tisra Chatusram is fairly common these days. A lot of percussion artists play it. A lot of vocalists sing in Pallavis, and she'll show an example later. The idea behind this is very general, however, and I'm going to show Misra Chatusram next. So in Tisra Chatusram, we replace 3s with 4s. Here we will replace 7s with 8s. Okay, so takita takatimi, takita takatimi, takita takatimi. That's the regular Chatusram in Mr. Chapel. Tatin tin na, takadim tin na, tatin tin na, takadim tin na, tatin tin na, takadim tin na, tadim kutam, tadim kutam. Okay, so that is Mr. Chatusram. Very simple idea. Essentially, every 7 we replace with 8. And can we show that quickly? again, everything they played is essentially things that you play in Adi Talam. Okay, so that's what is unique about this Misra Chatusram, Tisra Chatusram, etc. Again, the idea is very general. We can also do Kanta Chatusram. Kanta Chatusram, we would replace 5s with 4s or 10s with 8s. So, taka, takita, taka, takita, taka, takita. So, taka, takita is 5. That will become 4 in Kanta Chatusram. Taka, di, mi, taka, di, mi, taka, di, mi. Right? And then the next column, taka takita, taka takita, taka takita, taka takita, taka dimi, taka dimi, taka dimi, taka dimi, taka dimi, taka dimi. Right? So I'm going to play a very short clip of Sri Palani playing this. It's just 30 seconds where he has just shown a glimpse of the idea. There is another Chembai concert where he has played this more elaborately, I believe for Paridhana Michite. This one is an extract from a Laya Vinyasam. That's it. Very, very short clip, but he has shown the essence of it. Okay. And by the way, with this basic foundation, we can do a lot more. Right? So having established Chatusram, we can play another Nadai on top of it. So for instance, if you take Misra Chatusram, I can use that as a foundation and further do a Tisram or something on top of it, right? So something like this. Tat din din na, taka dim din na, tat din din na, taka dim din na, tat din din na, taka dim din na. This is Misra Chatusram, right? Tat din din na, taka dim din na, tat din din na, taka dim din na, tat din din na, tat din din na, taka dim din na, tat din din na, taka tata dimmi, taka tata dimmi, taka tata dimmi, tak dimmi, taka tata dimmi, taka tata dimmi, don don keda don don tatam, don don keda don don tatam, don don keda don don tatam. Okay, so essentially what we did here is that we converted it to Tisra Ekam. Taka tata dimi, taka tata dimi, taka tata dimi, taka tata dimi, don don keda don don tatam, don don keda don don tatam, don don keda don don tatam. Okay. So these ideas are very general. Ultimately, in all this, we are limited only by our own imagination. Of course, there's always an aesthetic element to all this. We do need to have a sense of proportion. We cannot overdo it, but a little bit of this here and there can be very, very stimulating intellectually. Okay. All right. So to close this section, Aishwarya will demonstrate a short Pallavi in Aditalam Kandanade. So I'll tell you what she is going to do, and then as she goes through these certain parts, I'll put it up there so that people know exactly where they are, because she's going to cover a lot of ground. She'll start in a baseline tempo, Samakalam. The Pallavi will occupy one round of the Talam. Then she will do Kanda Chatusram in Keel Kalam. So doing that will take 2.5 rounds of the Talam. So she will need to do it 2 times so that it comes back to where she started. Then she comes back to Samakalam, and then she does Chatusram Keel Kalam, which will be 2 rounds of 2 cycles of the Tala. Then again she comes back to Samatalam, and then she does Tisra Chatusram, which would be 1.5 rounds of the Tala. So she has to do it 2 times to come back to where she started, back to Samakalam. Then she does finally Chatusram Mel Kalam, which would be half a round of the Talam. So again she has to do it 2 times. Then she comes back to Samakalam, and it's all over. Okay. All right, Ashwin. and Akshay will play on the mridangam.
ईशने सबीशने नटराजने तत्त्वं तकत्वं येन नटमिडुम् 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 ईशने सबीशने नटराजने ஏன நடமிடும் ஈசனே சபீஷனே நடராஜனே ஏன நடமிடும் ஈசனே சபீஷனே நடராஜனே ததும் தத் ஏன நடமிடும் ஈசனே சபீஷனே நடராஜனே ததும் தகதும் ஏன நடமிடும் ஈசனே சபீஷனே நடராஜனே ததும் தகதும் ஏன நடமிடும் ஈசனே ஈசனே சபீஷனே நடராஜனே தத்துவம் தக்கத்துவம் தத்துவம் தக்கத்துவம் என நடமிடும் ஈசனே ஈசனே சபீஷனே நடராஜனே தத்துவம் தக்கத்துவம் தத்துவம் தக்கத்துவம் என நடமிடும் ஈசனே சபீஷனே நடராஜனே.
So Aishwarya made this look very easy. I know how hard it is, so kudos to her for pulling this off flawlessly. Okay, so in the next section, I'm going to demonstrate another unique feature in the Parni Bani. He often used to play Nadai-s like Kandam or Tisru Nadai as patterns of 4 instead of 5 or 3 or whatever. So I'm going to start with Chatusra Ekam or Aditalam. So Chatusra Ekam will repeat 4 times. And I'm going to show how he emphasized the 4s instead of the 5s. Okay, so this is what we saw earlier. You can see it repeats every 5 times. So taka takita 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 taka takita. This is standard Kandanadai, right? So what Palani would do is he would play the same thing as 4s. So if you look at this, this will be in patterns of 4. It will keep repeating 4 times. It will keep repeating 5 times. Okay. So essentially, what we are doing is instead of taka takita 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 taka takita, we're going to do takadimi 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 takadimi. Okay. So taka takita is 5. 4 taka takitas is 20. Takadimi is 4. 5 takadimis is 20. So essentially, we're doing exactly the same thing. We're filling up 20 strokes, right? But the point of emphasis is different. Okay, so it's the same Kandanadai, 4s instead of 5s. It's more subtle, it's more nuanced, and intellectually stimulating. Okay, and he had a lot of ideas. He would establish that as the basic Nadai and do a lot of things with it. Okay, so again, it's best to show this through example. Nanu, do you want to, or interview? Okay, do you want to use that mridangam? You can use one of their mridangams. You'll have to swap across Aishwarya. I'm going to put rendikalai. you could see when he started playing as fourths, that was when ta kita ta kita ta kita ta kita ta kadimi ta kita ta kita ta kita ta kita ta kadimi, and then he went on to play a korve which also had mostly fourths. Okay. All right, so this provides a good foundation to do all sorts of creative things on top of this. So this is what we just showed, right? We have patterns of 4 repeating 5 times, okay? And what we can do now is we can convert this 4 into something else. For example, we can convert the 4 again into a 5, okay? So that would be like playing a Kanda Nadai on top of a Kanda Nadai. Okay, so I'm going to just show the visual first, and then, okay, so if you see this, so the ones all line up here. There's one here, one here, one here, one here. But earlier there were 4 divisions between each one, and now there are 5 divisions between each one. Okay, so we've done a kandam on top of a kandam. Okay, so we can call it kandam square. All right. So if you compare to regular Chatusra Nadai, in regular Chatusra Nadai you have takadimi, 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 tam. Right. So that's 16. Here we have 25. Okay, so we are fitting 25 in the space of 16. Right. So this Nadai was something my father and Guru Shikesh Kalidas taught all of us. And he himself had been inspired by the great Tamil Vidvan, Yalpanam Dakshinamurti, who apparently showed the idea in Krishnagana Sabha in the 1970s. Okay. Nanu, can you play a few rounds of this? This is regular kandam. So essentially what he did, takadimi, 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 takatakita, takadimi, 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 takatakita, takadimi, 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 takatakita, 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 takatakita. Okay, so and then he went on to play a korve. So if you look at the korve he played, let's play that in Chatusra Nadai and see how much space it takes, and we'll understand the intuition behind it better. Okay, so I'm going to put Mr. Jampai just for convenience. So tati tatom tatom tati kitatom ta ti ti tatom tatom tati kitatom ta ti tadum, tatum, tatti, kitatum, ta, tatti, kitatum, dim, tatti, kitatum, tatti, kitatum, tatti, kitatum, ta. Okay, so this was 2.5 rounds of this talam. Each round is 10 beats. So this is a total of 25 beats. And we know, looking at this, that down below you have 25, right? You're filling 25 things within the span of 4 beats. In regular chatusram, takademi, 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 that is 16. So there's an equivalence between 25 and 16. So this took 25 beats. So when you play this in Aditalam in this Nadai, it will come for 16 beats. Okay, so tatti tadum tattum tatti kitata ti tattadum tattum tatti kitata ti tadum tattum tatti kitata tatti kitata tatti kitata tatti kitata tatti kitata. Okay, so there's no mystery in all this. Once you understand the fundamentals, it'll all work out. Okay, all right. So as I mentioned before, I mean, there are a number of ideas we can develop on top of this, right? So for example, here, Nanu did he converted the 4 to a 5. We can also convert the 4 to a 3. So that would be like playing a Tisra Nadai on top of the Kanda Nadai. So there are all sorts of things we can do. So for example, takademi, 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 ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, takita, ta, ka, ta, ki, takita, 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 takita. So here I did a tisram instead of the 4. So we are fitting 15 beats now, right, instead of 16. So it's a very subtle difference from Aditalam. So when you're playing it, you have to be very careful you don't stray into Chatusra Nadai. But the ideas are boundless, right? There's a lot of flexibility to innovate with this kind of platform. Okay, so in the last portion of today, I'll cover a little bit of how Palani approached Tisra Nadai, right? And as I mentioned before, he would often play in patterns of 4 rather than 3. Even when he started Tisram, he would not start it usually as takita, 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 takita. Rather, he would start it as tat, dim, tat, tat, dim, tat, tat, dim, takadim, dim, tat, tat, dim, tat, tat, dim, which is all 4s, okay? And this philosophy carried over to his score-wise as well. And the principle behind all these score-wise is that anything that works in Chatusra Nadai, either samam to samam or yadam to yadam or whatever, will work in Tisra Nadai when you repeat it 3 times. Okay, it'll come back and end at the same time. So if you take a really simple korva in Aditalam, tatti takita tum tadikita ta, tit takita tum tadikita ta, takita tum tadikita tum takita tum tadikita tum takita tum tadikita ta. So this is 16 beats. Okay, so 3 rounds of this is 48 beats. If we play this in Tisra Nadai Keel Kalam, it will be 33% slower because everywhere where there is a 4, you're putting a 3. So it will be 33% slower. So instead of 48, it will be 64. Okay, and so 64 is not divisible by 3. So each round of the korvai will be 21 and 1/3. So when you begin, wherever you begin, samam or yadam or something, the first break point will be 21 and 1/3, then 42 and 2/3, and then 64. Okay, and remember this was all done 75 years back, right? So if I put, I'll just put rendikalai and show this. Tatti takita tum tadikita tum ta, tit takita tum tadikita tum ta, takita tum tadikita tum takita tum tadikita tum takita tum tadikita tum ta. Tatti takita tum tadikita tum ta, tit takita tum tadikita tum ta, takita tum tadikita tum takita tum tadikita tum takita tum tadikita tum ta. Okay, so it was 1/3 after the second beat of this, which is 21 and 1/3 from when I started. And if you repeat it 3 times, it'll come samam to samam. Okay, and this pattern was a Palani hallmark. Do you want to play this korve? Just this. Okay, let's play one more. Do you want to play one? So this is actually a very straightforward korve in Chatusra Nadai, and many of you would have heard this. And in fact, in Swara, in Kalpana Swaras, a lot of singers sing this also. Tat dim tena tam, taka dim tena tam, dim dim tena tam, tadi kita tanta, dim, tadi kita tanta, dim, tadi kita tanta. Okay. So again, in Tisram, this will be 21 and 1/3. Palani played this in Tisram Keel Kalam, but his genius was that he employed fast solos and expressions in it that it didn't seem like Keel Kalam. So in what Akshay played today. Because if you play it exactly like I showed this, it will be very boring. Ta, team, te, ta, tam, right? So you fill that up, you play it at twice the speed. Play 2 taddinkina tones. Right? Okay. So I'm going to conclude with a couple of 1-minute clips of korves. See here. So this pattern was a Palani hallmark. There are any number of korves he has in Tisra Nadai that have this 1/3, 2/3 pattern, right? There is a mora preceding the korve, which also is in Tisra. So again, this was 21 and 1/3. I'm not going to play this one. I think, Chintu, this is the same one you played. This is a different one. This one is actually 26 and 2/3. So 26 and 2/3. 2 times that will be 53 and 1/3. And then it will be 80. Okay, so 80 It'll come in 5 rounds of Adithalam Rendukalai, or Palani also used to play this in Misra Jampai. Okay. Again, there's the Mora. That's all I have for today. What we've explored today is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, the deeper we go in this, the more rewarding it is, the more ideas we can get. Hopefully, I've been able to illustrate some interesting ideas and aspects of how Palani played various Nadai-s. Thank you to the Music Academy. Thank you, Sri Ram, Srimati Vijayalakshmi, and all the distinguished artists and scholars present here. Special thanks to Aishwarya, Nanu, Akshay, and Rohit.
Thank you, Dr. Ashok, for that wonderful presentation. Members of the experts committee. Sangeeta Kala Acharya, Dr. Rita Rajan.
Namaskaram. The rhythmic ideas la rumba so interesting, so thought provoking. Actually, நீங்க அந்த கண்டத்துல சதுரஸ்ரம் போட்டிங்கல்ல ஒன்னே கால்ல அது மாதிரி மதுரை சேஷகோபாலன் சார் ஸ்வரம் பாடியிருக்கார் அதில் ஒரு பல்லவியில் சார் நீ அப்பா பாபா தண்ணி சா அது மாதிரி குறைச்சி போட்டு பண்ணியிருக்காது. எனக்கு காரைக்குடி மணி சார் சொன்னார், 5-4 பண்ணியிருக்காருன்னு. ஐ ஜஸ்ட் ரிமெம்பர். அது எனக்கு கற்றும் கொடுத்தார். அப்படியே குறைச்சின்னு வந்து அதுக்கு ஒரு இதுவும் வச்சு ஒரு கோரையும் எனக்கு கற்று ஒரு பல்லவியில் பாட வச்சார் அகாடமியில். ஐ ஜஸ்ட் ரிமெம்பர் தட். அப்புறம் சார் இந்த தஞ்சாவூர் புதுக்கோட்டை 2 இது இருக்கு இல்லையா மிருதங்கத்தில், இஸ் தேர் 3rd ஸ்கூல். ஏன்னா முருகபூர்த்தி சார் கொஞ்சம் வித்தியாசமாக சொல்வாள். am I correct? ஆமாம். ஐ யூஸ் டு ஹியர் தஞ்சாவூர் புதுக்கோட்டை. இவர் கொஞ்சம் வித்தியாசம், இவர் கொஞ்சம் வந்து வேறுபட்டு இருந்தார். ஆமாம். மேபி.
So I would say at a completely different Barney in Solamatin, but he had his own unique style, which but it belonged to the Pudukottai parampara.
Basically, தஞ்சாவூர் புதுக்கோட்டைக்கு மெயினாக என்ன நீங்கள் சொல்லுவீங்க?
I think maybe my father can provide some expert commentary.
Shri K.S. Kalidas, mic can be passed on to him. Sir, நீங்கள் உட்காந்துட்டு கூட சொல்லலாம், no problem.
இந்த பாணி இந்த புதுக்கோட்டை தஞ்சாவூருங்கிறது வந்து ஆக்சுவலி மிருதங்கமே நம்ம கர்நாடிக் மியூசிக் இட் கேம் ராதர் லேட், ஒன்லி ஆஃப்டர் தி இன்ஃப்ளக்ஸ் ஆஃப் மராட்டாஸ். We had an instrument called Mannar Tan Mulavu. Mulavu is anything that is played, on a leather instrument. So parai and there were many instruments. But the present day mridangam came from the Marathas. That is very late in the 18th century. So initially the Tanjavur people took over, and then the Pudukkottai people. Pudukkottai people were very good in Pudukkottai. Tanjavur was the hotbed of tawil playing. And Tanjavur people modified it to play on the mridangam also. It used to be it used to be quite sonorous, but not laya-wise, very intricate. Pudukkottai people, being more tawil oriented, took it to more Lakshana-based element. So that's the main difference between the Tanjavur and Pudukkottai school. Pudukkottai school came a little later than Tanjavur school. So that is the main thing. That is, and in the playing style, Moras, the construction of Moras, Korveis and all that differed from person to person. And as far as Pudukkottai school is concerned, there used to be a lot of Kanakku, Vazhakku and all that, a lot of intricacies. So I believe even Tanjavur Vaidyanatha had a stint with Dakshinamurthy Pillai to get a few ideas about these Korveis and all that. There is one thing I want to say mainly about this Talam. You see, Talam is supposed to be fixed. We have various Talams, the Suladi Talams and the 108, Chanda Talams, Chapu Talams and all that. But beyond this Talam lies what is called Layam. Layam is the Pita of Talam. Talam is only a manifestation of Layam. And about Layam, which in the olden days they used to equate to Talam, there is a Venba called, I think some of our members must be aware of this. Tendral Vadivum, Sivanar Thiruvadivum, Mandral Vadivum, Madan Vadivum, Kundrada Veyin Isai Vadivum, Veda Vadivum, Kanil, Aya, Talam, Kanalam. அப்படின்ட்டு இது ஒரு வெண்பாய் இருக்குது. இதில் தாளம்ங்கிறது நம்ம டப்புன்னு தொடையில் அடித்து போடுறது மட்டும் தாளம் இல்லை. I mean, that is of course the practical aspect of தாளம் which we see. But when we go into Talam or even Layam, it is very, very vast. And generally we say that Shruti, Mata, Layam, Pita, அப்படின்னு சாதாரணமாக சொல்லுது. That is what we say. That is செல்லம் கொடுக்கறதெல்லாம் அம்மா, கண்டிப்பெல்லாம் அப்பா அப்படின்ட்டு. பட் சம்வேர் டவுன் த லைன் அம்மாவும் கண்டிப்பு பண்ணுவா, அப்பாவும் செல்லவும் கொடுப்பார். அது மாதிரி லயத்துலேயும் there are a few, what shall I say, a few liberties that one can take. அந்த மாதிரி லிபர்ட்டிஸ் தான் இந்த லயத்துலேயும் இருக்குது. இப்போ ஆக்சுவலி I think about 10 years back I had a demonstration here. Sudha Raghunathan, that was the year Sudha Raghunathan got Sangeeta Kalanidhi. அப்போ Sudha asked a very pertinent question. சார், நாங்கள் இது தனியாக ஆவர்த்தனம் விடுறோம், எடுத்த காலத்தை விட அவள் முடிக்கிற காலம் கொஞ்சம் அதிகமாகவே இருக்குது, அப்புறம் நாங்கள் இழுத்து பாட வேண்டியிருக்கே வேர் வி லெஃப்ட் அப்படின்னு சொன்னார். ஐ மீன், இட்ஸ் நாட் வித்தவுட் ஃபவுண்டேஷன், இட் இஸ் டெஃபினெட்லி ட்ரூ ஆல்சோ. ஏன்னா சாதாரணமாக என்ன ஆகும்னா, லைம் ரொம்ப ஃபிக்ஸ்டு தான், அப்படி தான் இருக்கணும். அது ரைட் ஃப்ரம் த பிகினிங் லைம் இதுவாக தான் இருக்கணும்னு சொல்கிறது. பட் இன் ஆக்சுவல் ப்ராக்டிஸ் வாட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ் இஸ், when you play the faster nadais, faster solos, farans, mora kore and all that, there is a tendency to run. So அந்த தாளம் அந்த லயம் கொஞ்சம் வேரியேஷன் ஆகும். இதுவே பாடுறவாளுக்கும் உண்டு. அவள் மேல் காலத்தில் பாடுற போது டெஃபினெட்லி அந்த ஓட்டம்ங்கிறது ஒரு சில இது இருக்கும். ஸோ இட்ஸ் நாட் ஆஸ் ஃபிக்ஸ்ட் ஆஸ் வி இமேஜின் இட் டு பி. தட்ஸ் நம்பர் ஒன். ஸோ நம்பர் டூ, இந்த ஸ்ருதியே நம்ம அனந்தம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். ஸ்ருதி அனந்தம்ங்கிறது ஒரு இது நமக்கு எல்லாத்துக்கும் தெரிஞ்சது தான். இப்போ ஒரு ராகத்தில் வர நிஷாதம் அதே நிஷாதமாக இருக்கலாம், அது இன்னொரு ராகத்தில் போடுறது அது இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் குறைச்சலாக பிடியேன், இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் நீளமாக பிடியேன், அது நில்ல, அந்த நிஷாதத்தில் நில்ல அப்படின்பா, எல்லா நிஷா ஜஸ்ட்டு தொட்டு காமிச்சிட்டு போயேன் அப்படின்பா. அது மாதிரி தான் லயத்துலேயும் சில விஷயங்கள்லாம் அந்த மாதிரி பண்ண வேண்டியிருக்கு. இப்போ லயத்தில் வாட் இஸ் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட் இஸ் தி யதி பிரயோகம்ஸ் ஆர் வெரி வெரி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட் இன் லயம். It is important even in music general, but in Layam it is even more important. That is why we used to have two kinds of chorways in the previous. What Dr. Ashok said was very true. About 70, 80 years back, when Paini was born in 1908. So when he was around 25 or 30, he did all these variations. So today we see them as new things. See, so the double kandam which he played, kandam square, as he said, is kandam, the second generation of kandam. Don't you have the second generation of Tisram? That is Sankirnam. What is Sankirnam? Sankirnam is 3 square. So it's the same principle. You don't stray from the principle. And 2 days back, when Krishnan and Vijayalakshmi gave a demonstration of their father's chorways and all that, they mentioned that these are Lakshya chorways. He also did play Lakshya chorways. Payanipeda played a lot of Lakshya chorways. And there was a big bond between Payani Subramania Pillai and Lalgudi Jayaraman. There was a very big bond. So these Lakshya chorways take their origin from the shape or the yati patterns and not the thing. So in Layam also, there are variables, but in the higher orders. Then Dr. Ashok mentioned that this is 25, 5 5s or 25s. No, 25, now 4 aksharams are there, 4 beats are there. Each beat in Tisanadai is 6. So 4 into 6 is 24. What is the great difference between 24 and 25? Nothing. But when they play, do we think of 24 or 25? No. We are in tune with what they play. So that is more important. So that is where Lakshya takes over Lakshana. That's all that I want to say.
Thank you. I was always very keen that as Sangeeta Kala Acharya Awardee, you should say a few words, and I'm very happy you did today. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. That was very important for us. Thank you. I now hand over the mic to... Krishna? Anything? Where are Arun? Arun? No? Okay. Fine. So I now hand over the mic to Sangeeta Kalanidhi Lalgudi Srimati Vijayalakshmi for her summing up.
Namaskarams to all the Laya masters and gurus gathered here. Congratulations, Shri Ashok. You definitely tried to simplify such a big ocean in such a way that we could get a glimpse of it. I know it is a vast and very deep subject, and to simplify it is not at all easy. எனக்கு ஒரு 2-3 பாயிண்ட்ஸ் ஜஸ்ட் தோணித்து. இதை சொல்லி தருதுங்கிறது ரொம்ப கஷ்டமான விஷயம், சொல்லிக்கிறதும் கஷ்டமான விஷயம்னு தோன்றுறது. ஏன்னா இந்த நொட்டேட் பண்ணுறச்சே பிட்வீன் த அங்காஸ் எவ்வளவு மாத்திரைகள் போட முடியும்னு சொல்கிறோமே தவிர்த்து அதோட சீட்டிங்கை வந்து நொட்டேட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு ஐ டோன்ட் நோ வெதர் தேர் இஸ் அ ஃபெசிலிட்டி ஆர் ப்ராபப்ளி இப்போ கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஏஜில் you have ways of notating it in a very precise way. So since it can't be notated, to teach and to correct, எங்கேயான ஒரு ஃப்ளா வந்ததுன்னா அது கரெக்ட் பண்ணுறதுங்கிறது கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமாக இருக்குமோ அப்படின்னு தோணுது. And then the title itself, Points and Counterpoints, it's a beautiful title. And I was told that Sri Kalidas sir தான் சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணார் அந்த டைட்டில்னு. Also, meeting point is also there. The meeting point is because math meets music அப்படின்னு எனக்கு தோன்றுது. இப்போ அந்த நடையில் தான் அது வந்து ஒரு சக்கர வியூகம் மாதிரி இருக்குது. உள்ளே போகிறது கஷ்டமா இல்லை வெளியில் வர்றது கஷ்டமா அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி இருக்குது. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கிறச்சே ப்ரெசிஷன் அச்சீவ் பண்ணலாம் வித் சாதகம், பட் டு டேக் இட் டு அ டிஃப்ரெண்ட் லெவல் to give tonal variation. Layers of perfection இருக்குது இல்லையா அதில் அந்த நடையை ஃபஸ்ட்டு அந்த அதுக்குள்ளே போகிறதுக்கு கற்றுக்கிறது, தென் டோனல் வேரியேஷன் கொடுத்து அதை ஒரு ஆர்ட்டாக ஒரு மியூசிக்காக பண்ணுறதுங்கிறது. இன்ஃபேக்ட் 3 பேரும் வாசிக்கிறச்சே இந்த ஈச் ஒவ்வொரு கையும் ஒவ்வொரு டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டாக இருக்குது. 3 டொனாலிட்டி வாஸ் வெரி டிஃப்ரெண்ட். ஸோ அந்த டொனாலிட்டி அண்ட் தென் அதுக்குள்ளே ஒரு இம்ப்ரவைஸ் பண்ணுறது, அதில் பேட்டர்ன்ஸ் காமிக்கிறது, அப்புறம் எந்த இடத்துல அதை யூஸ் பண்ணுறது, அது அடுத்த லெவல் இல்லையா. ஒரு கச்சேரியில் வாசிக்கிறச்சு நடையை வந்து எங்கே கொடுக்கணும், எந்த ரெஸ்ட்ரெயின்ட் இருக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறதெல்லாம் வந்து டெஃபினெட்லி மேத் பிகம்ஸ் ஆர்ட். அந்த நடைங்கிறது வரைச்சே இது வந்து ரொம்ப வெரி கிளியர்லி டிஃபைன்ட்னு எனக்கு தோன்றுறது. தட் ஹவு மேத் பிகம்ஸ் ஆர்ட் ஆர் வென் மேத் மீட்ஸ் மியூசிக். மியூசிக்னு நான் சொல்கிறது ஐ டோன்ட் மீன் த ஸ்வராஸ். The nadai itself, the way it is handled becomes music. Melodies அப்படி இருக்குது. ஸோ that is what I understood. என்னுடைய குரு அவர்கள் சொல்லுவார், லயம்ங்கிறது வந்து சத்தியம். அது வந்து 100% கரெக்டாக இருக்கும், இல்லைன்னா 100% தப்பாக இருக்கும். there is no midway at allனு சொல்லுவார். ஸோ அதனால் இட்ஸ் அ வாஸ்ட் ஓஷன். அது இன்னைக்கு எங்களுக்கு பியூட்டிஃபுல்லாக யூ மேட் அஸ் understand a little bit about it, and thank you so much. And later, if there is a possibility of notating and showing how the fractions happen with the help of technology, it will be great. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you. Thanks to Aishwarya, that was a beautiful handling of the Pallavi.
Thank you, Akka. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sangeeta Kalanidhi Lalgudi Srimati Vijay Lakshmi, and I thank you for having presided over 2 days of the annual conference at our request. Tomorrow, which is the penultimate day of the conference, we meet as usual. Dr. Curtis Andrews will present on compositions of Sangeeta Kalanidhi, Professor Trichy Shankaran. And the second lecture demonstration by Natya Kala Acharya Malabika Sarukkai will be on perspectives of seeing. Sangeeta Kalanidhi Srimati Sudha Raghunathan will preside over the conference. I look forward to seeing you all here tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye for now.